Alright, so this episode is gonna be mostly talking to people. Sorry about that to the folks who aren't thrilled about that, but gotta be done.
The Inquisition appreciates your assistance in this matter, Lady Corbin. And my miners appreciate your business. You'll have your lyrium by the end of the week. I should tell you, Ambassador, the Chantry raised some fuss when they learned about our arrangement. The Inquisition must certainly seem an audacious idea to the Grand Clerics. We hope to convince them it is a necessary one as well.
I don't give a fuck what they think.
I'll take my leave. Good day.
Who is she, Ambassador?
A merchant. I thought we should reach out to the dwarves to secure lyrium for the Inquisition's mages. According to Lady Corbin, it raised the ire of the Chantry.
How?
Access to lyrium makes us rather more formidable than anticipated. We're becoming a challenge. Sadly, the remaining Grand Clerics appear to be consolidating the Chantry's power, instead of comforting the masses.
I don't know which one to pick.
The Chantry couldn't solve its own problems when it had a divine.
Yet many people continue to bear it great love. We will not benefit from its decline. Little but the Chantry ties Orlais, Nevarra, Ferelden, Antiva, and even Rivain to a common cause.
Has the Chantry truly promoted such peace?
No.
Andrastes' chant is familiar across kingdoms, a source of many shared customs. That is the crucial point. Common ground is the start of all negotiations.
It's only a shared custom through colonization and assimilation.
Are you sure? Families often fight the hardest.
Having grown up among four siblings, I concede your point. I found, however, that the only time two parties cannot negotiate is when they cease to speak. We must learn to think beyond our own wants to secure peace in Thedas.
How did someone so lovely and selfless go into
I
Elysian
can't help
politics,
it.
Lady Montelier?
Well, that is, really, you give me too much credit. While you're here, I do have a question. The remaining Grand Clerics sent a missive inquiring about the events at the Temple of Sacred Ashes. They demand to know whether the Inquisition officially claims that Andraste saved you from the breach. If it were up to you, how would you reply?
No.
I'd tell the Chantry I was saved by circumstance, not divine intervention.
Yet as rumors your Andraste's herald grow, the Grand Clerics may not believe such a humble reply.
Then why even ask
A
me?
difficult situation, and I thank you for your answer. A good day to you.
How do we make it less difficult then?
I don't know
You can
if
use
Professor
that.
Carrierdon can get you that many healing
What may I
drafts,
do for
revered
you?
Mother.
If he cannot, then he may simply tell me no.
Let's speak later.
Goodbye.
Don't wish to tell me no.
We're all good apparently.
From doing so.
Let's go talk to Vivienne. I know she ain't gonna be pleased with me.
Child, and I shall embrace you.
If Fiona and her malcontents are joining us as allies, we need to be prepared. Abominations are inevitable. Cullen doesn't have enough Templars to handle incidents. Some of the rank and file need to be trained.
Fine.
Train our people, but keep it a secret. Let the mages think they're not being watched.
I like the way you think, darling. I'll have a word with Cullen. We are reliant on his people, absolutely. There has never been a greater threat to mages than the breach. Until it is closed, no one is safe.
You have a low opinion of your fellow mages.
It's not so much an opinion as grasping the obvious. Magic is dangerous, just as fire is dangerous. Anyone who forgets this truth gets burned.
The Dalish get along just fine without Templars or Circle Towers.
As I understand it, the elves limit their risk by refusing to have more than 3 mages in a clan.
You understand wrong.
What becomes of the Dalish youngster who is not appointed first or second?
at least they die free. What the fuck? Where's the option to tell her she should play the previous games before spreading misinformation? Well, neither of these are true, so...
If you want to say something about the Dalish, say it.
For those who value survival, sentimentality is not an option.
Fuck off
Tell
with
me
that shit.
something. As you will no doubt have a hand in shaping it, what future do you see for mages?
Mages should be treated like anybody else.
How free did you feel living on the run, never straying too close to villages or staying in one place too long? Paint the cage any color you like. It is still a cage.
So we get rid of the
It's something to
cage.
consider, my dear.
Oh my god, I don't understand her logic though. And by her logic, I mean the writer's logic. Like, what the fuck are they trying to do here? A cage is still a cage, so get rid of the cage. Change people's opinions. The Chantry made people fear mages in the first place, then it can make them not fear mages.
What is it?
Oh, she's not pleased with me.
How can you possibly oppose freedom for your own people?
Perhaps the Dalish are too isolated to grasp the realities of this world.
What the fuck?
All mages live lives of limited possibilities. We are denied fairness due to an accident of birth. But no one said that life was fair. The world is not made up of mages and Templars or circles and chantries. There is no us and no them. There are only people. People who must share a world which is not portioned equally among all. My own people want a larger share of the world, uncaring that they have already been granted great power.
That makes no sense. Your problem was with capitalism then. What the fuck, Viv? I'm trying so desperately to understand her logic, but she's like talking about several different things at the same time. It's like the writers are grasping at straws trying to make this shitty argument. Yeah, that doesn't add up.
Granting mages freedom doesn't take freedom from anyone else.
But that's precisely what it does, my dear. The wolves howl and claw at the fences that hold them back. Take pity and you let them loose among the lambs. And what do the sheep do? Panic. And the scent of their fear drives the wolves to attack.
It'll take time, but people can learn not to fear magic.
One cannot unlearn a primal fear. Like fire or heights,
It's not
it
a
is
primal
about
fear,
prejudice.
though.
It is about survival. I care for the witch hunts that will come. I care for the angry mobs who string up mages on gibbets for the vultures. I care that my stupid brethren will kill and be killed by frightened people defending their families from monsters. I will stand in opposition to that, whatever you may do.
But that's not their fault. Viv, like, yet again, she's not making any goddamn sense. I get that she cares, and I'm not arguing that she's some cold, heartless bitch. I mean, she cares, yes. But, like, I don't understand her motivations. I don't understand her logic. She's, like, just repeating Chantry rhetoric. Like, talking about mages being wolves. As if mages aren't people, too. Like, that's the root of the problem with this old Chantry rhetoric against mages, is they always talk as if mages aren't people deserving of freedoms, too. Of basic human rights. Wait, she had more to say, did she? I probably should go back and check. Sorry, I got so swept up by that argument.
Yes, my dear?
I wanted to ask you about the Circle of Magi.
Of course. What do you wish to know?
You must have an opinion of the Templars after living so long in the Circle.
Having opinions about Templars, my dear, is exactly like having opinions about mages or Navarrans or men. I have known some who were impossible to endure and some who were utterly charming. I have suffered insults at the hands of those in the armor, but no more than I endured from nobles or tradesmen in Val Royaux. Personally, I have found the Templars a useful tool. skilled at keeping more unpleasant elements at bay.
Okay, I guess she doesn't really have much more to say.
Your enchanter Vivienne lives well. She remains loyal.
It seems Blackwall knows nothing about the disappearance of the Grey Wardens. It's a disappointment. I am, however, glad that he is with us, even if he was not what I expected.
Oh, she fucking knows about him.
And his
She knows the
experience
truth.
would be an asset to the Inquisition. As for the other Wardens, I suppose we will have to keep looking.
In Redcliffe, you sacrificed yourself so that I could return here.
Of course I did. One small life in exchange for a second chance at history. I always loved a bargain.
It was still a sacrifice, and still noble.
And I would do it again.
Anything I should know?
Altegan has returned to Redcliffe Castle and resumed his duties as Lord. The people are returning, slowly but surely. Unfortunately, our show of support for the mages has angered many.
I'll leave you to your work.
They can be as angry as they want. I stand by my decision.
Well, that's mages all over. So many robes, I bet all of Ferelden lost their curtains. I'll just be the other side of Haven, just in case.
These mages are here to aid the Inquisition. Don't worry.
Sure, don't worry. Magic up there, magic down here. What's to worry about? I mean, yay, freedom. Great for them. Over there, away from me.
I'll be back if I need you.
Go on.
At least we've got Inquisition troops out at Redcliffe now, giving those people some real...
So we have gained the mages. Excellent. They should be able to seal the breach. You are certain you experienced time travel? Could it have been an illusion? A trick of the Fade?
I've been to the Fade before. I'd know it.
Point taken. What an amazing gift. It is vital the Inquisition succeed to avoid the future you witnessed.
Most people have trouble wrapping their heads around the idea.
I'm not most people.
I appreciate you talking with me about it. And not being most people.
If you wish me to speak of Elysian fashion, I may be at a loss. Magical surprises I can handle. Speaking of which, you should ready yourself.
For?
This Elder One. You have now interfered with his plans twice. Once at the Temple of Sacred Ashes, and now again at Redcliffe. A being who aspires to godhood is unlikely to ignore such an affront.
Yes, you would know, would you, Solus? Okay, let's talk to Dorian.
The Inquisition supports free mages. What's next? Elves running Halam-Sharal?
Ideally.
Cows milking farmers?
Why is elves running Alam-Sharal such a tall order, Dorian?
There was no other choice.
Oh, there were definitely other choices. You picked the one that'll shock the children. I do wonder if you've considered what this support of yours will do. For mages in general, I mean. The Inquisition is seen as an authority. You've given southern mages license to, well, be like mages back home.
I don't believe that.
It's true. The conditions here are different. Southern mages aren't used to ruling. Thing is, the Imperium was once just like the South. Templars, proper circles, all that rot. Then it changed. By inches. Not that this is reason to oppress us. Still, my homeland should be a cautionary tale, not a source of inspiration.
Oh, it's definitely not inspiration. Tevinter is no better than Orlais.
He's in the cells.
Not yet, no. I saw him before they locked him up. He looked despondent, broken. Not the man I remember, nor the one I want to. I suppose the Inquisition will judge him eventually. I wonder if there's any chance they'll show him mercy. He hardly deserves it, but for Felix's sake. I can't help hoping there's something left of the man I once knew. So I take it you're Dalish? Is that the correct word here?
You're more accustomed to slave, I take it.
We don't have Dalish clans coming northward, for obvious reasons. So I've never met one of your people before, although I've heard about them. A little. I hope this won't be an issue between us. I am here to help you deal with the Venatori, after all.
Don't give me cause to make it an issue.
As you wish.
It occurs to me that I barely know anything about you.
Beyond my being a mage from Tevinter, you mean?
Beyond that, yes.
And beyond my being so charming and well-dressed, which is obvious to anyone.
If you say so.
You certainly think highly of yourself.
It's true. I could be more modest, but I'd be lying. Now, what was I talking about? Ah, yes, me. I am the scion of House Parvis, a product of generations of careful breeding and the repository of its hopes and dreams. Naturally, I despised it all. The lies, the scheming, the illusions of supremacy. That's Tevinter in a nutshell, isn't it? Needless to say, my family was not happy with my choices.
Okay, let's burn through all these options.
Why would your family be upset with your choices?
Because I rejected their idyllic plan. If they had their way, by now I'd be married to some unlucky girl from a powerful family. We'd live in luxurious despair, despising each other as I waited to take my father's place in the magisterium. I declined the honor, and thus it's best I'm far from home. Less of an embarrassment that way, you see?
I'm getting the impression that you don't care much for your homeland.
On the contrary, I care for my homeland a great deal. There's so much potential. Sadly, we squander it. We refuse to acknowledge how far we've fallen because pretending is easier. We pretend the Qunari can be beaten. We pretend that we're superior to everyone, even our own people. Not everyone feels that way. I don't. Sadly, we're the minority.
It just seems... So much of what you say about the Imperium is entirely negative.
It might sound that way. For all our faults, my people have many virtues. We are laden with history and culture. Tevinter is where Thedas truly began, remember?
What the fuck?
We treasure
No!
our past and preserve it. You can walk down a side street and find nothing built during the modern ages. And despite appearances, we care. Deeply. About everything. We have no reserve, not in war and not in love. If I truly believed my homeland was beyond all hope, I wouldn't miss it so much.
I can't believe Dorian just went, history started with colonization, basically.
What did you mean by generations of careful breeding?
The great families of Tevinter don't have children. They refine traits, weed out the undesirable, and promote the rest. My mother was chosen for my father because magic runs strongly in her blood. Never mind that they loathed each other. They wanted a son who could become Archon to make House Parvis the envy of the Imperium. They got me. A cautionary tale that you should be careful what you wish for.
Why remain with the Inquisition? Why not go back to Tevinter?
I'm not exactly welcome back home. Not that it matters, I'm quite accustomed to being a pariah. It adds to my charm. I can do more for Tevinter here. If the Venatori succeed, it'll set my homeland back 1,000 years. I'm sure some magisters would disagree, but that's why we kill them.
I think I've heard enough.
That's too bad. I never tire of talking about myself.
Should we save that for later, or... Nah, might as well get to it now.
I'd like to ask you about Tevinter.
Ah, yes. Everyone outside the Imperium always seems quite fascinated by it. Probably why they come up with so many ridiculous tales. Flying cows over Minrathous. That's madness. All right, that one's actually true, but the cows didn't have wings. I digress. Anything in particular you wanted to know?
It seems strange that an entire empire would be ruled by mages.
Strange? Why are you less qualified to rule than some tart with a fancy crown? Actually, the fiction in the Imperium is that mages don't rule. The Magisterium rules. That Magisters are all mages is considered a convenient technicality.
What is the Magisterium, exactly?
The upper house of the Imperial Senate, and the only part worth having a seat on. Those seats are split among the circles of Magi, the Chantry, and the major families. All mages now. It's odd that outside the Imperium, you use Magister like it applies to every Tevinter mage.
If you're not a Magister, then what are you called? No special title?
I'm an Altus, which is almost as good as a Magister, depending on who you ask.
I've never heard of an Altus.
Upper class. Those families who trace descent from the Dreamers, the first prophets of the old gods. If you're a mage and you're not Altus, then you're later, lower class. If you're not a mage at all, you're Soperati. That's everyone else. We do love our fancy words.
I thought the Archon ruled over the Imperium.
Well, yes. Technically, he can overrule laws passed by the Magisterium, but that never happens. Even so, he gets to appoint new Magisters, which means all the families vie madly for his favor. Thus, the Archon gets invited to all the parties. The truest path to Tevinter influence, let me tell you.
If it's a fiction, that means mages do rule then.
Yes and no. Let me put it this way. Mages do rule, but not all mages are equal. If you're not from the right family, chances are you don't rule anything. Maybe you're even a slave. The idea that anyone could be a mage, however, keeps the masses placated.
Can anyone be a mage?
Technically, the potential runs mostly in bloodlines, but it's been known to happen. More importantly, commoners believe it can. Tevinter legend is chock full of mage heroes from humble origins. So they hold out hope. Someday my son or my son's son will be a mage. Someday. Poor sods don't realize that means he'll be a quaestor at the arse end of the 100 Pillars, at best.
Being a quaestor isn't a good thing.
I imagine the average non-mage likes to think so. Counting numbers and shuffling papers.
I can barely fucking pay attention to what Dorian is saying, because while I'll
If you're a
edit it out,
second-class citizen
these
among a pack
fucking
of
assholes
piranha,
keep
however,
going back and
your
forth the
outlook
road on
changes.
their fucking dirt bikes.
Let me ask you something else.
Or four-wheelers, whatever the hell. I don't know, I haven't checked, but it sounded more like a four-wheeler when I think about it, actually.
There's an Imperial Chantry, isn't there? With its own divine.
You people aren't supposed to talk about the Black Divine, are you? If you mention him outside the Imperium, people make that face, like you're urinating in public. But yes, we do have the Chantry, or a version of it. Night and day comparing it to yours.
It's not mine.
Is the Imperial Chantry so different from ours?
It's
Not
not.
very.
What do you mean,
The main
ours?
difference is in the whole magic is meant to serve man, not rule over.
Amaris is Dalish.
Back home, ruling the unwashed masses is serving them, for the good of the Imperium. Perhaps it started with good intentions, but these days it's academic. The circles are in command.
There are circles of magi in the Imperium.
We don't have dismal little mage prisons, if that's what you mean. They're academies, prestigious ones. We have Templars as well, but they don't cancel spells or whatever your Templars do. They're soldiers.
They don't use lyrium.
Ha! As if there'd be any left for them. They watch for abuse of magic, yes, but only those who are weak or who fall out of favor get dealt with. Mostly they enforce the Magisterium's edicts. The Chantry smiles and nods from the sidelines.
Do you really call him the Black Divine?
We don't call him that, oh no. In the Imperium, he's the true divine. The woman sitting on the Sunburst throne is some backwater pretender. It all stems from a disagreement over Andraste. Marvelous, isn't it?
Why would they disagree over Andraste?
It's not my field of expertise, but the Imperium believes Andraste was a mortal woman, a mage. Down south, they say, no, she's the bride of the Maker, ascended to his side, divine provenance, a blah blah blah. We feel better believing Andraste was one of us. Makes executing her less damning, you see. So we elected a man as divine, the South declared war, and we've been feuding cousins ever since.
So, the Imperial Divine is always a man?
All the better to distinguish him from that other one, yes. Don't think there aren't a number of female majesties who bristle at that. Why can't they be divine after all? Same reason you never see a man on the Sunburst throne. Because that's how it's always been done. Excellent reasoning.
Do you consider yourself Andrastian?
The big question. It might surprise you that I do consider myself Andrastian. I simply do not believe in the Chantry. It is a relic, whether back home or here in the south. Something from a bygone age desperately clinging to relevance. It's not an opinion that makes me popular.
I don't know what to pick, because none of these are fitting.
I'm not surprised. It's not an opinion you should share.
What? No! Share it away!
I'll say this. I may not believe in the Chantry, but I believe in you.
In me?
That the Maker sent you.
Oh, God.
Whether through Andraste or fate. Cassandra is not wrong. You are what we needed most at the moment we needed it. That's what they will say in ages to come.
That's what you think. That's ridiculous.
Oh, I'm glad you're so certain. Me? I've seen too much to believe I know everything. The world is bigger than I. Even bigger than you. It laughs at all the things we think we know. The Maker doesn't need me to believe. But I do. The thought of no one at all watching out for us is too frightening.
Let me ask you something else.
So many questions.
Anyone who talks about the Imperium mentions slavery. It's the center of the slave trade.
Ah. That is true.
And did you have slaves?
Not personally, but my family does and treats them well. Honestly, I never thought much about it until I came south. Back home, it's how it is. Slaves are everywhere. You don't question it. I'm not even certain many slaves do.
That's it. You don't question it.
In the south, you have alienages, slums, both human and elven. The desperate have no way out. Back home, a poor man can sell himself. As a slave, he could have a position of respect, comfort, and could even support a family. Some slaves are treated poorly, it's true. But do you honestly think inescapable poverty is better?
Are you honestly defending slavery? The ownership of another person, Dorian.
Is that what you call it? Treated poorly?
Abuse heaped upon those without power isn't limited to Tevinter, my friend. I don't know what it's like to be a slave, true. I never thought about it until I saw how different it was here. But I suspect you don't know either. Nor should you believe that every tale of Tevinter excess is the norm.
Where's the option to fucking slap him?
That's all I wanted to know.
Fair enough.
I should go.
Try not to kill anyone without me.
Actually, where's the fucking option to slap Gator?
The Mage Rebellion joins the Inquisition. I've got to admit that's a twist I didn't see coming. One thing you saw in the future worries me. I mean, it was all bad. But red lyrium and Ferelden, infecting people and growing out of them, that's bad. Finding more of it really punches a hole in my red lyrium at the temple was a coincidence theory.
How long does it take for red lyrium to grow? How fast can it spread?
It took years to infect people in Kirkwall, but no one there was actually ingesting the stuff. This Elder One managed to take the worst thing I can think of and make it worse. That's an accomplishment.
We can't leave a single piece of that lyrium out in the wild.
I'm with you on that. I've got people trying to find out where the red stuff came from. I think maybe we should make that a priority. But that's enough doom and gloom. You just won a big victory for the Inquisition. What are you going to do to celebrate?
I was planning to put my feet up, maybe grab a nap. You?
Whatever I do, it'll be as far from Cassandra as I can get. Things should be calm around here for at least the next hour. Take a moment to enjoy it. If the world's about to end, I'm sure the Seeker will let us know.
This world are finite. What one man gains, another has lost.
And what are we supposed to do, exactly?
What you always do. Complain.
We've already spoken with Commander Cullen. No one listens. We want better quarters. We want the Templars kept at a distance. And some respect for...
This is not the Circle. You mages are our allies, not our wards. Act like it.
How are we supposed to...
Deal with it. It never ends, evidently.
You could try actually listening to what he's saying to you.
Is there an issue with the mages? Can I help?
The mages are here as equals. They need to get used to what that means. It is your doing, after all. You created this alliance.
I had to think on my feet, and I did what I could.
Oh. I do sound like I'm blaming you, don't I? I don't disapprove. In fact, you did well. You made a decision.
What about
when
the
it needed
Cassandra
to be made.
greatly disapproves message I got?
I wish I could say this was my doing.
You're flattering me.
I'm not. This always happens. Nobody ever takes my meaning.
You should see your face.
I'm thinking less flattering things now. Let's hope the breach has your sense of humor.
The mages are ready to approach the breach. I pray this will be enough to close it.
You weren't happy with how I brought in the mages. Do you have a problem with me as well?
Of course not. I have no intention of endangering your alliance, but I must ensure the safety of those here. That concern extends to the mages. They are putting themselves at risk for the Inquisition, as are you. Any precautions taken are meant to aid you, nothing more. I hope you will accept them as such.
That's all for now.
I'm sure you have other matters to attend.
How do I replace Cullen? I do not trust him.
Travel safely.
Then, thanks for the refreshments.
I've been meaning to thank you. There are 100 things that need your attention. You didn't have to take the time to help me, and yet you did.
If the history you pursue benefits the Wardens, then it was worth it.
You've proven yourself to be an honorable woman. Principled. I've great admiration for you, and I've never been more certain in my decision to join you.
Aww.
I would never have guessed that you admire me.
Of course I do. You have the world at your feet, myself included.
I don't deserve that sort of reverence.
Modest too. Your list of qualities continues to grow. Now, we should return to our duties before I get too carried away.
Nothing right now. Perhaps in a bit.
Well then, I think next episode I'm gonna explore the Fallow Mire.